What advice would you give a young Katt Williams coming along? And maybe not even a Katt Williams, because you're so unique.
One of one.
You're so unique. What would you give to a young up-and-coming artist who sees you as a role model? What advice would you give them on how to navigate this industry, this career, these processes?
I would say, if you believe in God, take as much pressure off of yourself as you can and apply that pressure to Him. If you believe in God, then you know that in His books, He's got certain contractual obligations as well. It's certain things He has to do in certain situations. And it's okay if you put Him in those situations. It's okay for you to say, I believe there's a God, and I believe that if there is, He loves me and He would help me in this situation. It is impossible for you to do that and then watch something happen and not know where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so any artist, I would just say, make sure that your relationship with God is one of the relationships that you're also working on, whether it's spouse, kids, everything else. Make sure to pay attention to your relationship with God, because it really is the difference maker in how things turn out. Everybody doesn't serve God. Some people serve the devil, and they put him in positions, and it's terrible to say, but if that person has a better relationship with Satan than you do with God, that's your fault too. And so I think that's the only advice that I would give to an artist, is to find your higher power and connect. Because until you do that, you're just a rudderless ship out here. And I know from my own personal experience that it doesn't matter how young you get that relationship. It's never too early.
Speaking of relationships, what's your take on relationships? Have you ever been
I love
married?
relationships.
Have you ever been married?
No, never married.
Do you believe in marriage? Or do you believe
I do.
in?
Yeah, my parents are still married.
Yeah. Well,
I
what
had a
about you?
wonderful
What about
example.
you?
Yeah. What about me?
You've never been married. Would
Right.
you want to be? Have you found the right person? Is it not something that you're interested in, settling down with a single person? Do you envision what your parents have for yourself ever? Is that even a goal? That's exhausting.
No, not really. It's not that. It's yeah. I think marriage is great. It's just that at the point in my life when that would have been the next thing that I was going towards, that's when I had this instant huge family.
Yeah.
And then I was just so reticent to bring a person into this dynamic just because of how unfair that would be to this lady to have all of these kids that are not hers. And so I was trying to make myself a better version of me in advance for this wife, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime of that, I'm the one doing the cooking and the laundry and the cleaning and the school wake-ups. And so it got to the point where I was the wife.
Yeah.
And yeah, so where I am now, I finally have something I could offer a lady, I suppose. Monogamy has not been a part of my journey. I've tried to share this gift with whoever needed it.
Why limit it? Why limit why limit the world?
This gift for
You're
whoever
precious.
needed it. My man. Okay, Katt.
you love. I love it. I do. Because why? That's the ultimate
He
question.
is all of our hero.
But you have a farm. Not to there's so much. There's so many kind of little surprising layers.
Right.
So
yes. Lovely farm.
A lovely farm. Is it like a full working farm? I mean, are you?
We have 100 ducks, 100 geese, cows, pigs, goats, sheep. We have animals that you never see. It's just a wonderful 100 and some acre property in Americana that's just magical. And it's the thing that I am creating, which is Heaven on Earth, the name of the tour. But it's a whole philosophy of whatever you think the afterlife is going to be for you, you can start making that for yourself here somewhere.
Do you tour every year? Or how does your tours? How do you think about that? Is it like training? Like you want to be on tour every couple of years, just to, or how do you think about?
I'm an athlete. I have the same season as my athlete counterparts. So in the NBA, they play 82 games. I'm not sure what it is in baseball, but I have 100 shows. I do 100 shows, and then I tape a special. And that's been the routine that I've had since, I think 2001 was my first one. So
is this that work ethic that the lawnmower kid that got you that $1,200, the feeling like if I'm doing it, I got to do my best. I got to put it in. I got to,
Well, I met Prince when I was 12. And he changed the trajectory of belief for me. Like I knew I didn't have to make any changes. This was a guy who was shorter than me. He was already rich and famous. And he had a purpose in life. And so a relative of his was my first girlfriend. She was a little older than I was. So if I was 12, she was 16. She had a family member that was coming into town. He was a musical artist. Because of my background, I wasn't really up on all of the musical artists as you would think that I would be. But
you had wooed her with all the candy that you supplied.
I don't know if you can tell this, but I make really good conversation. And, money's not an object. And I only care what you like. So it makes me a good conversation.
And you have the mustache.
Right. I got a mustache and candy. What more you want? But yeah, so she's like, he's just going to be here after his show at the UD Arena. And you should meet him. So I ride my bike over there and I go in the house and I meet this guy, Prince, right? And you ever meet somebody and go, ooh, this person's way smarter than me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was really my first time being in the vicinity of real brilliance, like when it's not for show. And so we're having this super deep conversation.
And you're 12.
Right. And we are connecting, and we have decided at the end of this conversation, we're friends, right? So I get ready to walk out, say bye to my girl. He says, you'll walk me down. So me and Prince are walking down these steps, but he's thinking we're going to my car. When we get down to the bottom of the steps, my bicycle is right there. And he's like, what's that? I was like, what do you mean, what's that? That's my, I'm thinking he likes it. I'm thinking he's noticed I've got the tricked out mongoose.
Yes.
He knows I'm
it's mine.
Full of cash. Yeah, you're looking at it. And that's when he lets me know that He's 18, a grown man. I'm 12.
Wow.
But because of our sizes, we just assumed that each other was the same. I don't know what I was saying.
Sizes
But
and mustaches.
right.
Right.
So he gave me the confidence to know, because up until that point in my life, I thought that there were some things I was going to need to do in order to be good enough. Like, I got to get taller. I don't know. This might be the first mistake God has ever made. Like, I can't find evidence that anyone in the world missed a growth spurt. Like, you have to understand, ma'am, 3rd grade, I'm 5'5". A giant among
You were
men.
like, I
Big
got
man
this.
on campus. Like,
Truly, right. It's like,
Right.
man, and that was it.
So Prince helped me see immediately I didn't have to get taller.
Yeah.
He already had just signed his his music deal. He had just produced his album by himself. He played 26 instruments on it. He did all of the jobs.
Yeah.
And it had worked. And so I knew that I didn't have to make any changes. I just had to be in the right position and be right myself when it transpires. So super helpful, that guy.
Yeah, no, that would be that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Well, let's help some folk. Let's help one of our listeners.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we've got a listener from San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
And her name's Amber. And I think her question is going to resonate with you. So,
Hi, Michelle and Craig. I love the podcast. My name is Amber. I'm 32 years old, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I opened my own salon at 22, and since then, I've navigated both personal and professional challenges. After a difficult relationship and some time living independently, I believed I had found healing and stability. But due to unforeseen circumstances, I had to move back home, which has brought its own emotional complexities. Over the past 2 years, I've been seriously considering relocating to New York City or Boston, not only to pursue greater opportunities in my industry, but also in hopes of building a life that breaks generational cycles. I've been taking small, intentional steps, investing in my business, putting myself out there, and making growth a priority. When I listened to your conversation with Keke Palmer, I was struck by the part where you shared how you began seeking new paths and meeting people after realizing law wasn't your true calling. So, my question is, when you were stepping into unfamiliar spaces and pursuing something new, did you feel overwhelmed or afraid? If so, how did you move through that fear without letting it stop you?
all right.
That's a big one.
It's
It's a doozy.
Okay.
that's a college level essay question. So any thoughts for Amber, just off the top of your head?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Amber, you're doing the work. And when you do the work, an answer comes out. So I don't think that you're confused in any way. I don't think you're wondering what it is you need to do next. I think you already know. I think you know that there isn't anything for you at the Riverwalk. San Antonio is a wonderful place, but it's not going to get you to where you see yourself being. I think very specifically you picked New York and Boston. If the fear is what you're dodging, the fear is necessary. The fear is there for a reason. The fear is to make sure that you don't take this for granted this time and end up in San Antonio for the 3rd time. The fear is useful. On the other hand, you're only going to look back and go, I should have left earlier. Why didn't I go earlier? Not anything else. You're not ever going to regret this decision. You're going to regret the time it took you to get to this decision. All of the new relationships, your whole new life is there. And you deserve at 30, whatever you are, to be able to pull that parachute and do a new life. And if you mess that one up, go from New York to Boston now. It never stop being in search of your calling and your purpose. It is there. You are going to find it. You're right on schedule. You're not behind. There's nobody to blame, and there's only upside. So I think you're doing great, Amber. I think you know you're doing great. I think you just wanted us to reaffirm that you're making the right decisions. You're not crazy. And yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Katt. Wise Katt. All the layers of Katt. I like it. I like it. I would address the fear part of it because I talk about fear a lot. I agree. Fear is there for a reason, and it's just interpreting the fear that you have. There is an element of fear and caution and everything, and that's a good thing. I always say there's the good fear that keeps you safe, but you just don't want to overindulge the fear that keeps you stuck, because fear can keep you stuck.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are a lot of people who don't experience, don't try, don't grow because they're afraid of the unknown. And that can leave you in a small place, because all the good stuff happens on the other side of fear. When you lean into it, get comfortable with it, know it's a part of the ride. If you can bear with that initial sort of the anxiety that comes with anything new, and say that's normal. It's normal that I'm starting something new. I don't know anyone. I feel a little anxious about it. Ride that wave of anxiety, but don't let it stop you, because when you do, you miss the growth that comes from taking a risk and pushing beyond the thing that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you practice moving away from that fear, you just practice always feeling safe.
Yeah.
But you'll look around and realize that you might feel safe, but you won't be happy, and you probably have missed out on a lot of really amazing stuff.
And you're not safe.
And you're not safe.
Where you are.
Right.
There is no bubble of safety, because this is where you're from.
Yeah.
You might as well have that experience, because she said in her industry, right? So yeah, she's not gonna make it out there in Texas doing hair for celebrities. She's gotta
Gotta go where the work is.
New York and Boston.
Yeah. So that's
great. But both of you have hit on some really good points. Fear is healthy, and you can't let fear paralyze you so that you don't do anything. And the only thing that I would add, just to contextualize this for Amber, is that you're always going to be nervous about the next step. So take it so you learn what that feels like. And each time it will be less fearful. That's what I found. The first hard pivot is the hardest. And then after that, you build that muscle and you're less afraid to try new things.
Or at least it will remain consistent. So I'm the other part of the extreme. So every time that I have to do stand-up, I'm as nervous and direct as I was the very first time that I ever did it, and got like every single So even though we're almost at 10,000 shows in my 23rd 100 city tour, like that nervousness and the butterflies and it never has gone away. It's what allows me to realize something's counting on this. There's something on this. You must do well.
You're passionate about it.
Right.
Yes.
And you need that in your life as a barometer, so that you don't take things for granted. And it's in no way should stop you. It should further. Why would you be getting nervous for something that wasn't going to matter?
That's right.
If you're nervous and fearful, there's a good reason.
That's true.
Still do it.
Yeah. We like that. Well, hopefully, Amber, we wish you good luck.
Right.
Keep going. I think Katt said it right. You know you're on the right track, and we are all confirming that you are. So keep going.
And we hope to see you in New York.
Yeah, and let us know, how it goes when you make that move.
Right.
Katt, this, you know.
My man.
You a layered little dude.
Right.
The layers of Katt
Heavy on the
Williams.
layers.
Yes, like I know.
Yeah, I know. Katt, thank you. This was a real privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting us on your list.
Yeah.
Making the
Your
time.
very short list.
Most of my things are like that.
So you set him up for that
That
one.
was that
King of the short list.
point,
Yeah, really.
point guard.
Right.
Alley-oop.
That's how this goes. Yeah. No, I really appreciate the opportunity that you both are making for yourselves and for others. Like, this is really a big deal.
This has been a treat. You are truly a gift in more ways than one. So thank you. Katt Williams, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Everybody, give it up.
Yo, I just watched this incredibly powerful clip of Katt Williams giving advice to anyone who sees him as a role model. And I'm telling you right now, this is some of the most real, raw, honest, and important content I've seen from any public figure in a long time. Like, forget the comedy for a second. This is Katt Williams, the philosopher, the truth teller, the person who's lived through enough to have earned the right to speak with this kind of authority and wisdom. So Katt starts off by doing something that most celebrities would never do. He questions the whole premise of being a role model. He doesn't just accept it, doesn't just give some generic, work hard, follow your dreams platitudes. Instead, he immediately challenges the idea itself. He says something like, before you make me your role model, you need to understand what you're actually signing up for. You need to know who I really am, not who you think I am. Not the highlight reel you see on stage or in interviews. And this is so crucial because we live in an age where people idolize celebrities based on curated images, based on personas, based on the parts of their lives they choose to share. But Katt is saying, hold up. If you're going to look up to me, you need to know the whole story. You need to know about the struggles, the failures, the mistakes, the dark times. You need to know that the person you see on stage is the result of a journey that was often painful, messy, and far from glamorous. Katt gets into his own history, and he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He talks about growing up in difficult circumstances, facing poverty, dealing with systems that weren't designed for his success, navigating an industry that tried to break him, compromise him, change him into something he wasn't. He talks about the price of staying authentic in a world that rewards conformity, the cost of speaking truth in an industry built on manufactured images and controlled narratives. He's brutally honest about his own mistakes too. He doesn't pretend to be perfect. He talks about times he made poor decisions, times he let his anger get the best of him, times he self-sabotaged, times he pushed people away who were trying to help him. And this honesty, this vulnerability, this willingness to admit his flaws and failures, that's what makes his advice so powerful. Because he's not speaking from a place of moral superiority. He's speaking from a place of lived experience, of lessons learned the hard way. Katt talks about how the entertainment industry tried to change him. They wanted him to be more palatable, more mainstream, more willing to play the game. They wanted him to compromise his principles, water down his comedy, be less controversial, fit into a box that would make him easier to market and control. And he talks about how tempting that was, especially when you're struggling, when you're not sure where your next paycheck is coming from, when everyone is telling you that if you just change this one thing or accept this one compromise, all your problems will be solved. But Katt says he couldn't do it. He couldn't be someone he wasn't, even if it meant missing opportunities, even if it meant being labeled as difficult or problematic, even if it meant watching people with less talent but more willingness to conform get the opportunities he was denied. And he talks about how hard that was, how many times he questioned himself, How many times he wondered if he was making the right choice. But then he gets to the core of his message, and this is where it gets really profound. Katt says that the most important thing he can tell anyone who sees him as a role model is this: be yourself, unapologetically, completely, authentically yourself, no matter what it costs. Because in the long run, selling out costs more than staying true. In the long run, the peace that comes from knowing you didn't compromise your soul is worth more than any amount of money or fame or success you could gain by being fake. He talks about integrity not as some abstract concept, but as a daily practice, as a series of small decisions that add up over time. Every time you're asked to compromise, every time you're presented with a choice between what's easy and what's right, every time you have to decide whether to go along to get along or stand firm in your principles, you're defining who you are. And those definitions, those choices, they accumulate. They build either a life you're proud of or a life full of regret. Katt gets really specific about what this looks like in practice. He talks about how in comedy, he's been offered roles that paid well, but required him to dress in drag or play demeaning stereotypes. And he talks about turning those down, not because he judges anyone who makes different choices, but because for him, those roles didn't align with his dignity, his self-respect, his vision of what he wanted to represent. And he acknowledges that saying no to those opportunities meant saying no to money, to exposure, to career advancement. But it also meant saying yes to himself, to his values, to his integrity. He extends this beyond just career decisions. Katt talks about relationships, about friendships, about how being true to yourself means sometimes losing people who can't accept the real you. He talks about how painful it is when people you thought were friends turn out to only like the version of you that serves their needs. How family members might not understand your choices, might pressure you to be someone you're not, might withdraw their support when you refuse to conform to their expectations. And Katt says that this is part of the price of authenticity. Not everyone is going to like the real you. Not everyone is going to support your journey. Not everyone is going to understand why you make the choices you make. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to stand alone if necessary, because the alternative is being surrounded by people who don't actually know or love the real you, which is its own form of loneliness. But then Katt flips it and talks about the rewards of authenticity. He says that when you're genuinely yourself, you attract people who genuinely connect with you. You build relationships based on truth rather than pretense. You create work that actually means something, rather than just chasing trends or trying to please everyone. You sleep better at night, knowing you're not living a lie. You look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back. He talks about success on his own terms. Katt says that the world will try to define success for you. They'll tell you it's about money, fame, status, possessions, awards, recognition. And while those things might be nice, they're not what actually makes you successful as a human being. Real success, according to Katt, is living in alignment with your values, using your gifts in ways that fulfill you, making a positive impact on the people around you, and being able to look back on your life without major regrets. Katt gets into the concept of legacy, and this is beautiful. He says that when you die, people aren't going to remember your bank account balance, or how many awards you won, or what kind of car you drove. They're going to remember how you made them feel, what you stood for, whether you were real or fake, whether you helped people or used them, whether you added something positive to the world or just took from it. And he talks about how this realization changed his approach to everything. Instead of chasing whatever would make him the most money or get him the most attention, he started asking himself different questions. What do I want to be remembered for? What impact do I want to have? What kind of example do I want to set? What do I want to contribute to the culture, to the conversation, to the world? Katt also addresses the younger generation specifically, and this part is incredibly important. He talks about how young people today are growing up in a world that's more image-obsessed, more performance-based, more curated than ever before. Social media creates this constant pressure to present a perfect image, to rack up likes and followers, to compare yourself to everyone else's highlight reel, to measure your worth in metrics and numbers. And Katt says this is toxic. This is damaging. This is creating a generation of people who are more concerned with how they appear than who they actually are. And he pleads with young people to resist this, to understand that your value isn't determined by how many people follow you, or how many likes you get, or how perfectly curated your image is. Your value is inherent. It's internal. It's about your character, your integrity, your authenticity, your humanity. He talks about the mental health crisis this creates. How constantly performing, constantly curating, constantly comparing yourself to others leads to anxiety, depression, feelings of inadequacy. Because you can never measure up to the impossible standards set by people who are also just showing their best moments and hiding their struggles. It's all fake, Katt says. It's all performance. And if you build your self-worth on that foundation, you're building on sand. Instead, Katt encourages people to do the hard work of knowing themselves, really knowing themselves, understanding what they value, what they believe, what brings them joy, what breaks their heart, what they're willing to stand for, what they're willing to walk away from. He says that this self-knowledge is the foundation of everything else. Because if you don't know who you are, other people will tell you who you should be. And you'll spend your whole life trying to be someone else's version of you. Katt gets into spirituality here, and he's careful to approach it in a way that's inclusive, regardless of specific religious beliefs. He talks about the importance of connecting to something bigger than yourself, whether you call that God, the universe, a higher power, or just a sense of purpose and meaning. He says that when you're only focused on yourself, on your ego, on material success and worldly validation, life feels empty no matter how much you achieve. But when you connect to something transcendent, when you see yourself as part of a larger story, when you use your gifts to serve others and contribute to something meaningful, that's when life takes on depth and significance. Katt talks about how his comedy isn't just about making people laugh. It's about telling truth, challenging injustice, giving voice to experiences that aren't always represented, making people think while they're laughing. He talks about purpose versus career, and this distinction is crucial. A career is what you do for money. Purpose is what you do because it matters, because it needs to be done, because you're uniquely positioned to do it. Sometimes career and purpose align, which is ideal, but sometimes they don't, and you have to figure out how to balance earning a living with living a meaningful life. Katt shares his own experience of times when staying true to his purpose meant sacrificing career opportunities. Times when he could have made more money doing something that didn't align with his values, and he chose to make less money but maintain his integrity. And he says those were the right choices, even though they were hard, even though he struggled financially at times, even though people thought he was crazy for turning down opportunities. Because here's the thing Katt emphasizes: you can't get back your integrity once you've sold it. You can't uncompromise your principles. You can't reclaim your authenticity after you've traded it for success or money or approval. Or rather, you can try to reclaim it, but it's much harder to rebuild than it would have been to just maintain it in the first place. He talks about people in the industry who made compromises early in their careers and then spent years trying to undo the damage, trying to rebrand, trying to be taken seriously after they'd established themselves as willing to do whatever it took to get ahead. And Katt says it's sad to watch, because often those compromises weren't even necessary. Often they could have succeeded while staying true to themselves, but they didn't believe in themselves enough to try. This leads Katt into talking about self-belief, which he identifies as absolutely essential. He says that if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your value, your talent, your worth, your ability to succeed on your own terms, then you'll constantly be looking for external validation. You'll constantly be willing to compromise because you don't trust that you're good enough as you are. But when you genuinely believe in yourself, when you know your worth, when you trust your abilities, you're willing to bet on yourself. You're willing to turn down opportunities that don't align with who you are, because you trust that better opportunities will come. You're willing to stand alone if necessary, because you know you're enough all by yourself. Katt talks about the work required to develop that self-belief. It's not just positive thinking or affirmations, though those might help. It's about actually developing your skills, putting in the work, getting good at your craft, building a track record of following through on your commitments to yourself. It's about proving to yourself through action that you're capable, that you're reliable, that you can be trusted. He shares stories about his own journey developing his comedy, the thousands of hours of stage time, the bombing in front of audiences, the refining of material, the constant work of getting better. And he says that work built his confidence more than any external validation ever could. Because he knew he'd put in the work. He knew he'd earned his place. He knew he was genuinely good at what he did, not because other people said so, but because he developed mastery through dedication. Katt also addresses failure, which is such an important topic that doesn't get discussed enough honestly. He talks about his own failures, times things didn't work out, times he made mistakes, times he fell short of his own expectations. And he says that failure is inevitable. If you're really pushing yourself, if you're really taking risks, if you're really trying to do something meaningful, you're going to fail sometimes. But failure doesn't define you unless you let it. Failure is just information. It tells you what didn't work, so you can adjust and try again. The only real failure, Katt says, is giving up, selling out, or never trying in the first place. Everything else is just part of the process.